Good morning, everyone. We are going to start with this topic. Although this topic was discussed in yesterday's lecture, I discussed it with the students that we started with the October Revolution. We have already covered the February Revolution, and we saw the changes under February Revolution was that there was a fall of monarchy. And when we discussed the events of October Revolution, we saw that there was a fight going on in between the provisional government, temporary government that was formed in Russia after the fall of Tsar, and when Vladimir Lenin, with his Bolsheviks members, he returned back to Russia. So now there was a clash for the power hold between these two groups. Vladimir Lenin and his party was of this ideology that the provisional government, the temporary government in Russia, is trying to create their dictatorship. And on the other side, provisional government was of this idea that Lenin is trying to create his popularity among the people and is trying to have hold over the power in Russia. So this jealousy among these two groups led to the October Revolution, and we saw that by the end of this October Revolution which happened, Bolsheviks now had control and power in Moscow as well as Petrograd, which was a main capital city there. Now, when Bolsheviks have come into the power, what has changed in Russia is, so now a quick summarization of the topic which we have already done. So as he proposed, you remember he actually put forward one April thesis. Under April thesis, he has put forward 3 points that war should come to an end. This was a proposal he gave in 1917 when he returned back to Russia. And he said that banks should be nationalized, land should be given to peasants. Now, as soon as Bolsheviks have come into the power, he actually turned those suggestions into, you can say, in a concrete law formation in the country. So he said that he was totally opposed to private property because he was a socialist. Bolsheviks were socialist in the country. Industries and banks were nationalized, means now they will be under government undertaking, no private ownership of bank or industry. Land was declared that it is a social property, and peasants, they were told that you can go and take the land from nobility and start cultivating over the land. Now, other changes that were enforced by Bolsheviks were, they did the partition of the large houses. They said there's no need to have big mansions and large houses. House should be according to the requirement of the family members. So they made changes in the, you can say, the structure of the houses there. Then whatever old titles of aristocracy were there, journal, colonel, whatever the titles were there, everything was banned by Bolsheviks in the country. Then they made changes in that they designed the new uniform for the army there. And how it was being done, they conducted one clothing competition, and through that competition, a new hat for the soldiers, Soviet soldiers, were also decided. The photo is given by the side of this paragraph. These are some of the changes. What else? What Bolsheviks did is they renamed their party as Russian Communist Party. This was a new name of their party. And now, as it was decided that there will be proper elections will be conducted in Russia, so in 1917 November, Bolsheviks, they conducted elections. So there was one, you can say, parliament there, constituent assembly was formed there, so they conducted elections. But to your amazement, Bolsheviks, they failed to gain majority. Much of the votes were given to them. So what Bolsheviks did, because they were in power, they were in charge of Russia, in January 1918, they rejected first the assembly, in which they didn't got the majority. Assembly rejected. Now all these changes which were proposed by Bolsheviks, assembly rejected that. Now if you can't come to the power, how could you make so many changes in the country? So assembly rejected Bolsheviks measures. So in return, out of anger, what Vladimir Lenin did is he said that the members of all Russian Congress of Soviet, you remember they won, they conducted meeting in this all Russian Congress of Soviet. Meeting was held which declared that Bolsheviks will come into the action. They said that the members of this Russian Congress of Soviet, politicians of this party, are more democratic than this constituent assembly. Simple reason, because assembly was rejecting the idea of Vladimir Lenin. So Vladimir Lenin started making issues regarding this assembly to disband it, to remove this assembly. So what he did is he said that now because we made this constituent assembly under uncertain conditions, so this is not democratic. This party is more democratic. So despite opposition, what are the other things that Bolsheviks did? You remember they were defeated by Germany in the First World War. opposite parties, they were again and again telling Bolsheviks, do not make peace with Germany. But Bolsheviks ne dobara se they created peace with Germany. And then again they conducted elections. Bolsheviks, they became the only party. They declared Russia as one party state, that there will be only one political party in the country. So obviously when only one political party is there, they will get all the votes and they will form the government in the country. So now you remember they actually removed this constituent assembly and they created a new parliament by this Russian Congress of Soviet. They became the parliament of the country. Russia became a one party state, and trade unions were also kept under the party control. No freedom was given to trade unions. They created a secret police like Cheka first and later OGPU and NKVD. These were made so that if anybody tries to criticize the Bolsheviks, they will be punished by the secret police. Many young writers, initially many young youth in the country was rallying. Rallied means supporting the party, because unko lag raha tha that they are going to bring socialism into the country, and socialism is something which always favors the people. So initially there was a lot of support. And in October 1917, what Bolsheviks did is they started experimenting with art and architecture. They started making changes in the art and architectural structure of the country. But many were disillusioned. The time when Bolsheviks introduced censorship also. You remember we have discussed censorship in first chapter. Censorship means when a king or the leader appoints some people to keep a check on everything that is reaching up to the people. अगर आपने लोगों तक चेक करके ही चीज़ें भेजनी है, then you can't say that there is a freedom of expressing thing or freedom of any information. Right to information is also not there in the country. So if we see that how the changes were being brought, he made peace with Germany. He made Russia a one-party state. Secret police was also appointed to punish the people. He created censorship. So you can see that the Bolsheviks, who were earlier fighting for the freedom of the country, now they are themselves making many dictatorship rules in the country. This is what happens. This happened in the first chapter also when Maximilian Robespierre got the power. Now here also when Bolsheviks got the power, there is one proverb which is very right to say that power always corrupts itself. Whosoever gets the unlimited power, their mind gets corrupted and they stop taking start to take insane decisions in the country. So this happened with the Bolsheviks. Further, your next topic is civil war. Please everybody put a cross to this. We are not doing, there will be no subjective or objective question from this topic of civil war. And now your next topic, okay? So your next topic is making a socialist society. Now to make things easy for you, see some changes are given here. What changes came after October? This topic also talks about how socialism was brought in, changes were done. So if this question comes in the paper that what were the effects of October Revolution, or how did the Bolsheviks, they try to turn Russia into a socialistic state, so you can mention any of the changes out of these 2 pages. So prepare prepare accordingly whichever points that you find easy. Now what happened here is, Betaji, during the civil war, Bolsheviks, now again first paragraph is dedicated to April thesis, industries, banks, nationalized, land given to the peasants. Now important thing that changed occurred was 5-year planning. Centralized planning was introduced. I hope you are aware that India was also at one time following these 5-year plans. India has successfully completed 12 5 years plan, and it's been quite a long by this time. So India also got inspiration of starting these 5-year plans from Russia itself. So centralized planning introduced की गई रशिया में, जिसमें हर 5 साल के लिए we keep target of one sector where we will do all the investment, try to make development in that sector. The first 5-year plan was dedicated to agriculture in Russia. After this, the next 2 5-year plans were dedicated to industrial development, and because of this, there was 100% increase in case of oil, coal, and steel. So it was an achievement there, starting centralized planning. Another change that was brought. Apart from that, here they were talking about the condition of the workers. The condition of the worker was not very good, because rapid constructions were taking places. Too much of pressure was there on the worker for these rapid constructions. For example, Magnitogorsk, it was one of the city there. A steel plant was built. Actually, steel plant is a public sector, investment sector. So such things, they take a lot of time in construction, but it was, you can say, constructed within 3 years there, and the whole thing was means too much of pressure on the workers. They were living very hard life, and the result was 550 stoppages of work in the very first year. तो पहले साल में ही, within the first year, the workers, because of too much of pressure and hard work, they have to stop the work in between. By how much number? 550 times the work was stopped. And what is the other worsening condition? Even their quarters were not, you can say, suitable, or have providing them a good conditions there. As we know that there are severe winters in Russia, too much of cold is there. So even the rooms, the quarters which were provided, they do not have the basic toilets facilities also along with them. So they have to come downstairs from their quarters, cross the road, and then use the washrooms there. So such was the condition. So means development was there, industrial development was there. They were rapidly constructing everything, but it was all on the basis of workers who were badly exploited in the country. Now, what other changes? They created extended schooling system. Extended schooling system means arrangements were made कि in between, अगर workers or peasants, if anybody has left their studies, they can go and join the universities again. Creches are the daycare centers were opened for the working women, so that somebody can look after their children. Cheap means at nominal prices the healthcare facilities were provided. Quarters were built for the workers there, but all these changes which occurred were uneven. Uneven means they were not same everywhere in the country, because financial resources limited थे. जहाँ पर पैसा था, they created many things, and where there was a limitation of money, they were not able to do much of the changes. So these all are the effects of October Revolution. Okay. Now your next topic is Stalinism and collectivization. Now what is this Stalinism and collectivization? After the death of Lenin, who took over the charge of the party was Stalin. He was a brother of Lenin. Now what happened is, you remember I told you the first 5-year plan was dedicated to agriculture sector. So this is a case study related to that only. So there was a disaster in agriculture sector, and actually he made one policy, collectivization. Even that policy in agriculture created a disaster. By 1927-28, the towns in Soviet Russia were facing acute problem of grain supply. Again, there was a shortage of grain in Russia. I'm just telling you the background story why he started with a collectivization program, because there was a grain shortage. Government tried to fix the prices of the grains, at which the peasants were told to that at this very price you will be selling it in the market. But peasants, they refused. They said we will not be selling the grains at these prices suggested by the government. Stalin, who headed the party after the death of Lenin, he introduced firm emergency measures because shortage thi grain ki. Initially, he started making assumption that what could be the possible reason for shortage of grain. The first assumption that he made was that it is the rich peasants and traders who are holding back the stock. Holding is छुपा रहे हैं स्टॉक को, so that in the coming time when the prices will rise, they will bring back this material from the stock and they will sell it in the market. So this is the first assumption that he put forward, that might be the rich peasants and traders are intentionally creating shortage in the market. So what he did in 1928, उसने अपने party members को बोला, you started giving a tour to the grain markets and see to it that they are not hoarding the stocks. Supervisions की जा रही थी during grain collection. They started raiding. Means you can say checks were there done on the kulaks. Kulaks कौन थे? The name for the well-to-do peasants के घरों को raid किया गया to check that whether they are hoarding any material or not. But even after doing all these measures, shortage still continued in the country. So now decision was taken to collectivize the farm. Now what is this collectivization? It was argued that grain shortage was partly due to peasants. अब ये second assumption उसने लगाई that peasants की वजह से there is a shortage because उनकी land जो size holding है, it's very small and they're not able to grow much. These small sized peasant farms could not be modernized. These small farms को modernize नहीं कर सकते. इनको modern बनाने के लिए and so that industrial things can be used over these lands, it is necessary to eliminate the kulaks. हमें इनका जो middleman था peasants और government के बीच में, which were the rich zamindars or the well-to-do peasants, we need to eliminate them, remove them. So now what they did is, you remember, Bolsheviks, they gave all the lands to peasants from taking it from nobility. Now again, all the land was taken back from peasants and now all the land was under state control. What followed was Stalin's collectivization program. From 1929, the party forced all the peasants that now you will cultivize the farm. if you remember, even under Green Revolution in India, we started the collectivization of farms. Consolidation of land holding means small land holdings were clustered into one big land, and then cultivation was done on those lands. So now they started the collective farming, which was called kolhoz. Bulk of land and implements को काम करना शुरू कर दिया on the land. Peasants, they worked on the land, and kolhoz. Kolhoz means collective. Whatever profit was there, it was shared among the peasants. Enraged means in anger. The peasants, they resisted. They were attacking the authorities, and because peasants, they do not want to work in a collective farm. It was after so much of hard work that they got their own share of land. Now that land has been taken away by the government again, and they were forcibly being made to work in a collective way. So they started refusing the orders of the authority, and in anger what they did is they started destroying their livestock. Livestock is animals which are used on the farm, especially the cattle. Between 1929 to 1931, the number of cattle that fell by 1/3. They have killed the cattle there. Those who resisted उनको था that if we will kill the cattle, we will not be having the livestock, so we will not be able to work on the lands. So those who resisted, those who tried to oppose the collectivization, they were severely punished. Many were deported and exiled. Country से निकाल दिया गया कईयों को as they resisted the collectivization. Peasants, they argued that they were not rich. Now, what is the reason that peasants were putting forward? They were saying that we are not rich. With so much of efforts, we got the land from the government, but now you have taken away that land. They say we are not against socialism. We want you people to give the basic rights to the people only. They merely did not. They just do not want to work under the, you can say, a government or in the collective farms. Stalin government allowed. So Stalin government ने बोला okay, those who want to work independently, they can. But they had a very bad treatment with such cultivators. So Stalin did so many things to improve the quantity of grain in the country. But in spite of all this, production did not increase immediately. Still there was a bad harvest, and now over that there was more of a bad harvest in between this timeline, and because of this 4 million people, they died in Soviet history. So this is collectivization program by the Stalin. Now further is some basic reference. Now many within the party criticized the confusion in industrial production under the planned economy and the consequences of collectivization. Now the party members, they started questioning that what kind of decisions are being taken by Stalin, the leaders of the party. So now a big question was being raised on their decision taken in industrial development and agriculture, especially this collectivization, which was now a big failure. Stalin and his sympathizers, means Stalin and his members, they started charging these critics, those who were, they say, these are the one who are those who are creating conspiracy, they are planning against socialism in the country. Now accusations were put on them, and they were put behind the bars. Okay, nearly in 1939, over 2 million people were in prison or labor camps just because they were criticizing Stalin and his policies, and his members, they all were innocent of their crime, but nobody spoke for them. They were forced to give their false confessions, झूठ बुलवाया गया उनसे, making them say that yes, they are guilty. And among such people were many talented professionals in the country. So again, you can say misuse of the power in the country. So this is the topic. Now what I want you people to do is that we have done one question related to USSR in your notebook. Please give a thorough reading to this topic and to the answer that we have written, and then we will discuss this topic in the class. This is the how we define USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. Okay, so now, and everybody please complete your notes of the chapter as well. So this is for today. Thank you so much.